Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Big East Rewind. I am your host, Chuck Everson from Villanova University, and my co-host is a man was named after his own disposition. He lights up a room just by walking into it. The bright and shiny, effervescent Sonny Spera from Syracuse University. How are you, Sonny?
I'm great, Chuck. You guys notice he's reading that. You guys see him?
No, I didn't read a thing. Also, the top of my head. And now, so Sonny, before you start breaking chops, I gotta ask you, because this is like 60 shows or something that we've done together. Yeah. So I have to ask you. We've never really discussed this. You know, I break your chops a little bit about your name, Sonny, and where did the name Sonny come from? Were your parents like big Godfather fans, or how did that come about?
All right.
People want to know. Inquiring minds want to know, son.
All right. My name is Herman Spera III. I was not leaving the hospital unless I was named after my father. And my mom said, I will never call him Herman in my life. So I got home and she called me whatever. And then eventually she settled on Sonny, which would happen to be my dad's nickname. And a couple of other people. I got an Uncle Sonny, I got Big Sonny, I got Little Sonny. So the Italians, right, you know, we're not too creative. So it's just like, you know, you got a few names and we run with it. So that's where Sonny came from. Nothing special. Wow. No Godfather. Okay. I could make a better story, but that's
I thought she was a Jimmy Kahn fan or something, your mom. I thought maybe she was a big Jimmy Kahn fan. You know, I don't, you know.
Could be.
People ask me all the time, where did that come from? So there you go.
Really?
All the people that have been asking, there you go.
They're all asking you, huh?
They are. They
you got to get out more.
From. I do. I go to games and people ask about you, Sonny, you know? So today we got a great show, son. Today we got a great show.
It's great. I'm excited.
We finally got a couple of Pirates on the show, Sonny.
I know. I wore my blue. I wore my royal blue.
I know. I hope you brought your skull and crossbones with you.
I know. I didn't even think about it. I should have brought the patch, man. I should have brought the pirate patch.
So without any further ado, our guests are Rick Burton from Seton Hall University and Andre McCloud, also from Seton Hall. Both guys are my class. You know, Sonny, we all came in the same time. So I know these guys pretty well, especially Rick. Rick and I have got some history. We played together in Yugoslavia on that trip that we've talked about on the show several times, and had a great time with him. And Andre was very popular on the scouting reports at Villanova, because we always were trying to stop that guy. Yeah. And it was a very difficult task. He's a very good player. So we'll get into that with both of these guys. Welcome, fellas. Great to see you both. How are you?
Doing good.
How about you there, Rick?
Doing pretty good, brother. Thanks for having us. We've been watching the show for the last 61 episodes and was wondering when are we getting an invitation?
Here it is. You're ask and you shall receive, Ricky.
We are excited. Me and Andre are very excited about being on today.
Well, you know about that squeaky wheel? They get the oil, right? That's how it works, right?
That's true. I heard that.
That's it. So let's kick this thing off, guys. Tell me about playing basketball in DC, Dre. I mean, that is one of the, you know, but both you guys, where you came from in high school and stuff, are both hotbeds for basketball back in the day. And even today in the DC area, I mean, there's a lot of guys coming out of there. So talk about what that was like playing as a kid in the DC area, Andre.
Oh, well, it was rough. I mean, you know, you got a lot of guys with Dantley and some of the guys who made it to the NBA comes back to the area, and, you know, and all the coalition and all that in the Pro-Am league and stuff. And you had to really shovel the snow off the playground and really get your game together, or you would be embarrassed. And with them guys out there playing, it sparked me, want me to be a better player and have that opportunity to get into college somewhere like they did.
What was your high school, Andre?
H.D. Woodson. We was in the inner high.
So were you in like the DeMatha Dunbar? Were you guys in that mix at all?
No, that was
Baltimore.
That's Maryland. We was with Spingarn, Dunbar, DC.
Yeah.
With Anthony Jones, McKinley. Spingarn was what had Earl Jones, the big 7-footer back in my days and stuff, and with Coolidge and I think it's one more. At Eastern.
Wow.
Yeah, Sherman was from down there, right? Sherman
Douglas, yes. He went to Spingarn.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Got to bring in some orange, man. Got to do it.
Yeah, right. A lot of great players came out of there. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
How about you, Rick? And in Mount Vernon, you had
Legendary
the Williams
place.
Brothers, you had the McCray brothers.
McCrae's.
I mean,
Yeah.
there was a lot of guys that came out of there too. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, Mount Vernon, 4 square miles down in Westchester. And all we did pretty much was play sports. So if you were 12 and you were 11, you went to the boys club. Your parents took you to the boys club, and that's where it started, even earlier. And that's where we all formed our relationships. So when I started the boys club at 11, I would guess Gus and Ray were probably, on their way out of high school or doing their thing. And we all wanted to emulate them. So then it was the Williams, then it was the McCrae, then it was my generation. Then after that, it was Gordon's generation. So our high school was very, very successful. We try to win every year.
Yep.
And we it's funny because the only time I lost my senior year was to a damn team in DC. So there you go, Andre.
There's some props.
Napoleon Lightning and Johnny Dawkins. I think it was Mac, right?
Macklin. Yep.
And they were all the same size. They wasn't big. They were all like 6'2", 6'3", but can fly up and down the court. We was like, what the hell is this shit?
Hey, Ricky.
Yeah.
Did you guys play your championships in the Westchester Community Center, Civic Center, Westchester Community Center?
The local championships there. But
was that place crazy or what?
Yeah, beautiful. It was like, it was the game you look forward to. Everybody
the balcony,
was there.
the people right on the court. It was nuts.
Yeah, it was a great experience though. So those are some good years. So Mount Vernon was all about basketball, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, it really is. Both areas are really were hotbeds back in the day for that kind of stuff. So, where did you who recruited you out of Mount Vernon? Who were the schools that you were looking at? And talk about, it was a little different back then. There really wasn't AAU per se.
Right.
It kind of was just getting started, I guess. But some of the camps and stuff that we went to, that was where you got recruited. You had hundreds of coaches come out to camps and stuff.
5-star.
Talk about that. Yeah, 5-star was big. Yeah.
So
talk about who recruited you.
Yep. My choices coming out were University of Pittsburgh, and North Carolina State, Seton Hall, Providence. I could have went to, what else? I took the good visit. So I took a visit to Stanford, but I knew I wasn't going to get in. But
at least you're on.
Great visit.
Took a visit, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we want you. You take a visit." So they were on the list. And then I had an option to go to Louisville, but my cousins were there already, Rodney and Scooter. So it was when I was coming out, they were recruiting Milt Wagner. So I felt from camp. So I was saying to myself, do I really want to do that? Do I really want to go out there and be under their shadow? So I chose not to. But back in those days, we had a lot of options. We had a lot of options.
Ricky, you said it was all about basketball. At what point did you pick up the game?
I picked the game up probably in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Maybe 5th and 6th grade. Wasn't that good, but I kept at it every day and just got better, So, but again, that's all we did. We went to school, after school to the boys club, and that's where the good games were. The boys club,
right.
The 5-on-5, and who got winners, and the best players were there, and you got to get there early and all that kind of thing. So, I think we all did the same thing. I'm sure Dre did the same thing in DC.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't wait. It was a part of our day,
So Dre, talk a little bit about your recruitment, because I know that you were pretty well sought after. I know Brendan was after you at Syracuse. So
yeah, Ohio State. Even took a visit at Penn State. I know I wasn't gonna go there, but I said, what the heck, give it a shot and see how it is. It was cold and the mountains and stuff. Then
hard
plus
to get
Seton
to
Hall. Maryland, they were recruiting me hard too, and I was right there. Georgetown was doing some recruiting me, and Wake Forest.
Okay.
And stuff. So
how about you? When did you start playing the ball? When did you pick it up?
it's the same, 6th grade. First I was playing in the Catholic League, and then it moved up to high school at the playground. I had a playground right across the street off of Banks Place. It's right across the street. You got to get there early. Try to get a good 5 out there, because if you lose, it'll be a while before you get back on. So
yeah, winners stay, man.
Winner stays.
That's right. Now they play winners place 2, and then the next team rotates.
Really?
They've changed it in a lot of places, man. It's gotten soft. The game on the blacktop has gotten soft.
That's no good. So Dre, talk to us about the story I heard was you almost wound up being teammates with Sonny at one point, because you were really close to going to Syracuse, right?
Yeah.
Then some guy named Raphael Addison came by, and tell me that story.
No, what happened was it was between there, Maryland, and before PJ got the job. They showed me around. It was great and everything. And when I end up talking to Bayham, and what changed is that, when I was playing, I had so much confidence in myself, and coming in as a freshman, I asked him if I have the opportunity to get in the starting 5, will you give it to me? And Bayham looked at me straight up and says, no, Andre, seniority has it. Whoever's ahead of you, who's a junior or senior, you'll probably be playing behind and stuff. And that kind of turned me away, because if you fight so hard and you want to get that opportunity, you want to, get that shot out, just for that, give you a chance. And with PJ, when he got the job, he rushed down to DC. I don't know how he found me, but he found me and asked me, opportunity, hey, can you just come to Seton Hall and show you the program, and the opportunity is there. You got 5 spots. If you beat them out, it's yours. And I kind of like that idea.
I'll tell you what, Andre, I'll speak to, I know we talked about this before we started the show, but when you and Ricky signed, I know in Syracuse, we were like, okay, we got some players we got a game plan for. Because before that, right, it was Danny Calandro is going to put it up, and, either going to let him get it and don't let anybody else, or now they got some players, they're going to be able to do some different things. And it was a different time, and you guys were young and just getting going. But you had a lot on your plate when you started. You had a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, and I ain't gonna lie, we were hungry. I think Ricky can vouch for it. We was hungry. Yeah, we had this opportunity, and we wanted to put Seton Hall on the map, because every time I saw their program, it was great, but we was always in the basement, and we wanted to be the first to get them out the basement, as per se, and win a couple of games in the Big East.
Now, you want to keep going with this? I think we keep. So at what point were you feeling, hey, you could see some really big improvements? I know PJ talked about Mark Bryant coming in. What were some of the things that you saw that says, hey, we're on the right track now?
Well, not per se in the Big East, but overall, winning and losing records. We started my freshman year 6-23, then we jumped up to 9 or something. We finally got in the double figures wins, and you saw the improvement coming,
right?
And it's just too bad for me and Ricky that it started after we finished and we graduated and we left, that you saw Seton Hall's start getting on the map.
Yeah, to tie in with that, guys, you guys wound up, give me the timeline of how it worked with PJ coming in. He came in, like, you guys were in his first recruiting class, right? But did he actually heavily recruit you, or were you recruited by the staff prior to him and then he came in as you were coming in? How did that work? What was the timeline of when Coach came in?
Well, for me, Seton Hall, I didn't even think about Seton Hall, I'll be honest with you, until PJ got there. And I guess soon he got there, he rushed down there because he heard about me. And I was, somewhere at some tournament watching a friend play. And he walked over and he introduced himself to me. And he, asked me, can I talk to you? I said, sure. And when he told me his name and Seton Hall and the Big East, and I said, yeah, why not? I'll take a visit. And that's how it happened.
Yeah. How about you,
Ricky? Yeah.
My situation was, I think I was going to go with Bobby Cremins. You guys know Bobby? Remember Bobby?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Bobby Cremins.
New York
So
guy.
Bobby was at Georgia Tech, but he had first was Appalachian State, I believe.
Okay.
And then he was going to move over to Georgia Tech. So he came to my house, and my family just loved Bobby Cremins. I mean, until this day, I'm friends with Bobby Cremins. And I hadn't decided yet, so he gave me a couple of days, and then PJ contacted me. I had no idea who PJ was, like Andre, and he said he wanted to come over and pay us a visit. And he came over and pay us a visit. And the only thing that I thought was good for me is because during that time I had just lost my father, so my mother was by herself, and I knew if I went down south, it'll be difficult for her to get to the games.
Yeah.
So with losing my father, like a couple of months prior to that, I just said, okay, well, listen, if you go to Jersey, I can come to watch the games, and it wouldn't be a problem. And then what he said, he was very honest. He said, the program is going to be based on you and Andre McCloud. So I said, Andre McCloud? Who's Andre McCloud? Who the hell is that? So okay, what the hell happened? Did I lose you guys?
No, you're here. You're good.
Audio. Just lost video. You're good.
Okay. So I said, okay. He said, I'm going to build a program around you guys. I don't care about the other players that are there. There's some horse. He was not PJ Talks. I'm cleaning the house. It's going to be built around you guys. And then I think somehow he either gave me Andre's number, and we started talking, and we said, okay, let's do it. And we did it, and we started the journey. And we, I can tell you this, guys, when me and Andre first got there on campus, that first day on campus, I'm going to share this with you and for our fans. We had the best first night on campus that anybody could have. So we was like, this is what college is about, right, Dre?
Yeah.
I mean, Dre had a nice looking lady. I had a nice looking lady. So this is a matter of hours on campus.
Yeah.
So we said, if this is what college is like, this is incredible. So that was the start of our time at Seton Hall. So
you care to share any more details? Or are you going to stop with that?
Well, he'll leave with everybody's imagination, Sonny.
Yeah, how graphic can I get? We shared stories the next day. How was yours? Mine was, she was a little skinny. She was all right.
Yeah. So you guys wind up rooming together your first year, right?
Yep. We were.
Now, how did that go? I mean, listen, you guys are on the same team. You're both, everybody's competing for minutes. It's competitive. I had a tough time with that. I roomed with Wyatt Maker my first year, and we're both playing for backup minutes behind Pannone. And it's the first guy you see in the morning, the last guy you see at night. You're with each other 24/7. It got to be to a point where I was like, we couldn't look at each other. It was tough. And we switched out second year. But how did that work out with you? Obviously good if you're still tight, Yeah,
the good thing about it is we wasn't competing for the same position.
Yeah, well, that was the difference, right?
Andre was going to play 3. I was going to play 2 initially. So we knew that. So we had to stick together because it was the other guys we were worried about, because there was a lot of cancer going on during that time at Seton Hall.
Yeah.
The old players and the Rafteries players, they were cliquish, and they wasn't too fond of us. So me and Dre knew we had to stick together, and that's what we did. What's your perception, Dre?
Nah, it was true. That's true and stuff. And yeah, Ricky was playing the 2-3, and the next thing I know, I'm playing power forward. I'm like, Coach, what's going on here, man? I am a 6'6". I'm going against these 6'11" guys.
I know.
I
remember.
Andre. I need somebody to get some rebounds. I'm like, okay, Coach, I'll do what I can.
Yeah.
And Coach is ahead of his time if you think about it, right? You think about the big 3. Well, he was going to start with at least a big 2, right? and put you two in contact, and you guys create that bond. So he's now, to me, creating a culture that he can build on.
Yeah.
That's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about your relationship, guys, with PJ. I mean, obviously, you know, he was instrumental in getting you there. You know, it's the Big East Conference. It's all of that. He's another fiery Italian coach like the rest of these guys they seem to have in the Big East. You had Coach Mass, Coach Carnesecca, you had PJ, you know, three of the best. Yeah, Perno, yeah. 3 of the best yellers in the conference. Talk about what it was like playing for him and what your relationship was and is with him.
You go first, Dre.
Oh my God. No, PJ, he was just another father figure for me. And I mean, going through high school, I mean, I had a coach that did the same thing with PJ. So you kind of listen and you take everything out and go out the other ear. But I understand, and you look at him and you're just like, okay, coach, I know what you're talking about. And it kind of turned it. Actually, it gets me mad, you know. And if he's not yelling at me, then I get worried, you know. So I'm like, okay, yeah, keep yelling at me, and it brings the best out of me when he does that.
Now, did he? Well, let's go to Ricky next. What's Ricky's thoughts on that?
You know, at the time, I guess you didn't appreciate it, you know, because nobody wants to get yelled at. I mean, my parents sat behind the bench sometimes. My mother did behind the bench, and PJ said, you know, damn you, fuck you, what the hell? You know, my mother is like, woo, you know, but that's how he talked. But PJ I mean, really a wonderful, wonderful man.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he wants you to get better. And he can yell at you 1 minute, and then, you know, he wants to crack a joke 2 minutes later. What are we gonna do for dinner? What are we doing? So, but at the time you're 19, you really don't know. You just say, oh, screw him. But you know, as you get older and mature, you realize he's like a wonderful, wonderful human being. So, and his family, he embraced us with his whole family. So it wasn't like it was just him. His brothers, Kevin, I mean, his mom and dad, we were a part of that whole Carlesimo family. And the one thing, Andre, we did not realize that his family was very powerful in the basketball world. We didn't know that. We didn't know his father was a big time, you know, NIT.
Yeah.
So his name was so legendary, we had no idea, you know. So, but PJ was great to us. He really was. He's great to us.
Now, when he recruited you, did he talk to you about this ain't just 4 years? This is going to be, you know, we're going to be connected for, you know, a long time. Did he talk about that kind of stuff?
I can't recall that, but I think how he respected me and Andre is we came in and took the lumps for the program, and I'm sure if you ask him that today, our senior year is when we got that great freshman class in, and that's when changed the whole program. But if we didn't recruit those guys to come there, then what would have happened to Seton Hall? Maybe PJ's future would have been different. So you know, me and Andre had those guys under our wing. They were, you know, the freshman class. They were great players. But they looked up to us and they treated us with a lot of respect. And we saw, when we left, we knew that the program was in great hands. We did. Yeah. And then when we left, when me and Andre graduated, obviously, I think PJ had a big luncheon for us or whatever. Say, guys, whatever you need, I'm there for you forever. And he has been. So he's a man of his word.
How about you, Dre? What was your sense of it? Like when you finish up, what was your feeling? Did you feel still connected to Coach or what?
Well, I felt connected to him, especially my sophomore year. And my sophomore year, it was a bad year for me, my family. My grandmother passed away. My head coach passed away at the time. And I'm out here bawling, crying in DC. And next thing I'm looking up, PJ's right there. I'm like, whoa, how he know where to go and stuff? And, you know, he's telling me and comforting me and everything. It's like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the team. You get yourself together. I'm there for you. And that kind of turned everything around because, I mean, I didn't tell him nothing about the funeral or anything, but he was there. He was there for both of them, especially my grandmother when she passed away.
I'm sorry, Sonny.
Go ahead.
That's that Italian culture, the Italian heritage, man. It's all about family, right? And that's kind of what Sonny and I were trying to get at. I mean, was his door open for you guys? Were you able to come in and talk with him during the season about things? And did you guys do anything as a group? Like, did you have team dinners together and stuff like that, where everybody would get together for an event, whether it be a big game or something? Did any of that kind of stuff go on?
Well, he had his doors always open. I think I spent one summer there, getting my grades together, and he took me out a few times, and we talked about what we're going to do this upcoming season and what he needs from me and everything else. So yeah, his door is always open for me. How about you, Rick?
How about you, Rick?
Yeah, absolutely. He was, PJ, he had the person, what you see on TV right now with PJ is the same way he was back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Funny, cracking jokes, talking about your girlfriends, and the one thing about him, when we went to dinner, we always had to go to the Italian restaurant, right? Of course.
Yes.
So, right, we had this Italian restaurant in Manhattan we used to always go to, on 61st or 62nd Street. And that was one of his spots. And when he walked in, he was a king. Hey, PJ's here. So he brought the whole he brought the whole team. So he was good at that. He really was. He really shared some quality time with us. He did.
So let me ask you one more question about PJ, and then I want to get into more of the Big East stuff. But as he moved on and he got into the NBA and stuff like that, did your connection get stronger? How did that move, and how did that needle move?
Well, for me,
go ahead. No, you go, Dre.
Well, for me, I was overseas when I think he made his move in the NBA, and it was probably hard to keep in contact then. But when I got back, I took my family down when he was with the Spurs, and they played in Orlando. And we got tickets to go to the game. And afterwards, we all went down to the court and saw PJ, and he was surprised. And we exchanged numbers again, and we had that bond connection. He remembered my mom from way back in college and stuff. And then I, introduced him to some of the players there with, who was there at the time? The big fella.
Robinson or Duncan?
Both of them. They're both there. My mom got the chance to take pictures with them and everything. They had a ball with that and stuff. So yeah. Go ahead, Rick.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think I had moved when I was living in Atlanta at the time, and I think he was with Portland. Was he head coach at Portland?
Yeah.
Yep. And when he come to Atlanta, I would take him. I would go and watch him. He would have tickets for me. I think I had my first son, Justin, and he would take Justin to the locker room and let Justin hang around. And Justin would ask him, "Was my dad really a good player?" And he'd go, yeah, he was one of my favorites. They're one of my favorites. I said, "Good job, coach. Good job." But he was always, he was always good. The one thing about him is that, you may lose contact for a little while, but if you called him tomorrow, it's like, where the hell you been? Like you never missed a beat with him. So even though we may not talk as much as we like to talk, but I know that if I called him right now, if I needed something, he'd be right there for me, without a doubt. But we all get busy. He had kids. He got kids later in life. So, Dre's traveling. I'm traveling. We try to make our lives work. So we lose contact. But when he's on TV, we watch him. And if we ever need something and we know he's coming to town, we definitely would call him. So I'm sure he feels great.
So I was going to ask Dre. So let's talk Big East. Talk a little bit about because now you're a freshman. I know you had a lot on your plate. I know it. What were some of the things that you remember first couple years in the Big East and some of the competition and some of the arenas and all that kind of stuff?
Well, Syracuse was the first one. Good Lord. I love playing there at Syracuse. I love playing at the Hall. And the competition was like, okay, here we go. And me and Rick, sometimes we talk about it in our dorm. We try to strategize and get ready for it, especially Syracuse, with Tony Red Bruin. The leaper. I'm like, good Lord. I said, how are we going to slow them down? One of us not going to get dunked on, and we're going to be talking about it later and stuff. So And then coming home, playing Georgetown in the Capitol Center back at the time and stuff.
Tough
And
place.
that was my home game, because I had like 20 people with billboards and everything on top, with the shirts and stuff and everything. And I had to play well there, or they'll talk about me for a while and stuff. So yeah, that was great.
Ricky, what are some of your memories? And you could talk opponents, you could talk arenas.
I could tell you, the easier places to play at were Connecticut, were Providence, places like that. The toughest of all tough was Georgetown.
I agree.
Only because, first of all, when you walk in the arena, the whole shit is dark. I'm like, what the hell? Right? And then out of the shadow, you see this big ass 6'12" coach come out, John Thompson, who players can't speak to you. Now these are Dre's boys. These are Dre's boys, people he grew up with, and they can't talk to him. So Dre's like, yo, man, I'm just telling you, man. Dre was funny. He tell you, listen, Rick, whatever you do, just don't reach on this one kid because he's gonna dunk on you. Like, I was like, oh, shut up. Whatever you do, don't go for the pump fake. Like, so we roommates. So we when we on the road, we still in the hotel getting ready for the game. And that's the one trip I was like, oh, you serious, man? But I gotta give Dre credit, because when we went to DC, he always lit him up. He always lit him up though. He lit him up. So I was okay. He may get 12 at Providence. He's gonna get 28 at DC. I was like, get 28 every night, bro. Get 28 every night.
He could have. He had almost 2,000 points, right, Dre? I mean, you were the guy.
Yep, he lit him up.
So I have to elaborate a little further, Rick, because you mentioned the Georgetown guys, and Dre being friends with those guys. Okay, so Sonny and I have really gotten to know a lot of those guys a lot better since we started doing this podcast stuff. So I got to ask you, Andre, as a friend of some of those guys from back in high school and stuff, what was that like at the Big East luncheons when you weren't even allowed to talk to your friends? They had to keep their heads down. We've talked to the guys about it, and they never mentioned specifically what friends, but now I'm putting two and two together here and I'm realizing you're one of those guys. What was that like for you as your buddies with whoever, Dave Wingate or whoever, right? And all of a sudden now he can't even say hello to you. He's got to keep his head down and stuff. Did you guys, you razz him for that in the summertime when you get back?
All the time. I said, me and Rick, we sitting there, and the Georgetown always be the last people to start walking in.
Yep.
All the time, And I said, look at them. They can't say two words. They can't even look at you. Hands down, walking over there. I was like, well, wait till the summer. I'm gonna get David Wingate and the rest of the guys and talk about it. Especially in the summer leagues and stuff. But it was funny. Me and Rick used to joke about them when they do that and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, come on. You can say at least hi, give me a handshake, hand wave or something.
A high five, something. They weren't, I mean, it was we were teasing Billy Martin and Jeannie Smith. Like I said, it was an amazing trick. Thompson put his hand up and 12 guys dropped their heads. I said, wow, that was a pretty good trick, man. I was like, how did you do that? But it was a different vibe with those guys. But and now that we're all way over playing age, you talk with those guys. Those are some of the nicest guys in the league, but no one knew about it.
Yes, they were.
But you can't let that out, because then you ruin their whole image. Right?
You ruin the whole mojo. I know. But that's over, so we're all good. The
mystique is gone, baby.
Yeah.
I tell you one thing. I remember one time, Michael Graham. He was just a freshman, and I knew Michael Graham because I grew up in DC and stuff. And long time ago, I dated his sister at the time. So he gets on the court, and I can hear John Thompson. He was mad. You remember Phil Whitaker?
Yeah.
Rick? Phil Whitaker fouled somebody real hard. And I'm hearing John Thompson yelling, Michael, see that guy right there? I want you to hurt him. I looked at John Thompson, say, John, don't tell that boy to do that. Don't tell that boy to do that and stuff. And he started smiling because he was mad. John Thompson was mad. He was a good guy, but he was mad at the time. And Phil Whitaker, I love him to death. When he comes to practice, we all run away from him. I remember I had a fast break layup, and I saw him run into me. I threw that ball up in the air and left. PJ got mad. Andre, what you doing? I say, Coach, that's Phil Whitaker. And I got a smile out of PJ after that. I said, man, I ain't going for no layup with Phil Whitaker coming at me.
Yeah. So I can't let this go, Dre. You mentioned something and you brushed up by it real quick, but I got to go back. Now, you're dating Graham's sister, right? What the heck?
I was hoping you were going there. Go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me? You can't open that door, Andre, and expect me not to kick that one in.
I was in high school.
So you're dating Graham's sister, and now you go to pick her up or whatever, and there's Big Mike standing in the doorway. How's that go?
Well, I think I was a senior in high school, and I think he was just coming up, and we end up being good friends and stuff. And I mean, I respect them. I respect her at the time and stuff when things were going on. That's before I end up going to college, that everything kind of went their separate ways and everything. And me and Michael Graham, we still at the time kept in contact with each other and stuff. But he's a different person when he was on the court with Georgetown, because I laugh at him how he intimidated everybody, and I was like, come on, this man is a softie and stuff. But he had that reputation and intimidation and everything, and it's just too bad he didn't get an opportunity to play in the league when he had the opportunity.
Yeah, he's a real good dude, man. We roomed together actually in the USBL, and that was something, because Billy Martin was on that team with us too. So we had a lot of fun, the two of us, and we're still in touch today. So it's a real good guy. So talk about some of the guys that gave you the hardest times. Rick, you first. What are some of the guys that you played against that, man, you go, I got to play this guy? Who were those guys to you? Besides Sonny and I, who were those guys?
I mean, besides the obvious.
Besides the obvious, right.
There were so many, man. Every team had their 2 or 3 go-to guys. So the number one guy in my whole life, who I grew up with, was the most difficult player to guard, slow as molasses. And we go back to high school playing on Riverside Church together, was Chris Mullen.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So Chris was, we go back to playing with each other at 14 years old. But when we met in the championship for high school. He beat me in the Federation League by 3 points. And then the next year I'm facing him at St. John's. And you think you know where he's going. He's going left. And he's so slow, but my God, you just can't stop this because he shoots so well. Foul him, there's 2 free throws. If you give him a shot, he's knocking it down. So St. John's had their problems, the problem players. Villanova, I mean, you guys had a bunch of them. I mean, you had to worry about Gary McLean getting everybody riled up. That's the first thing. All right. Yeah. You got Gary's getting everybody pumped up. Then you had Dwayne McLean to deal with. You just had Ed Pickney to deal with. It just went on and on and on. And the one thing about the Biggies that was good is that it wasn't that you had no off night. And to you guys, off night was probably playing us. We got Seton Hall. We should be able to get off. We should be all right. But we had no off night. We had no off night. It was like, playing in the ACC, you just don't have an off night. Yeah. Syracuse had their players. So the number one player that I probably was, feared the most was probably Chris, because he could just hurt you in so many ways. Yeah. And such a smart player, He
got to that damn foul line so many times. Oh. Because he would just like little bit, and you just couldn't wait. You just couldn't wait. You just had to go, and then he'd lean in and create contact every time. Right. He'd put that ball right in front of you. I agree. He was tough cover.
Basketball IQ off the charts, right, guys? I mean, he's really off the charts.
Yep. He'll go back door. He'll do something. He'll grab your shorts, but then he'll hug you. I love you, Rick. I love you, right?
Yeah.
He kills you with kindness. Because Chris is a wonderful human being.
Yes, he is. Yeah. How about you, Dre? Who are some of the guys you remember that much?
Oh God, freshman year, I still got the tape. I still look at it. Not Willie Glass. Who was there?
David Russell.
David Russell.
No, David Russell.
No. David Russell, right?
Oh, okay.
Me and him always had a fight. the coach
Billy
had to
Goodwin?
pick Billy Goodwin.
Billy
Yeah,
Goodwin.
Billy Goodwin,
Yes.
Yeah, Billy was good too.
defensive
Yeah,
stopper.
I mean, he was all on me, and that was our first game at home at the Hall, and I start off hot, and then next thing I know, he put the clamps on me.
Yeah.
And I mean, he put the clamps on. He got in my head and everything, and I was ready to tussle with him. And I'm like, okay, coach pulled me out, talked to me, and stuff. And that was probably my worst game I had, because I think the second time we played, I played very well the second time. I didn't let him get in my head the second time when he played down in St. John. But Willie Glass and the Goodwin, it was the toughest two that really stuck in me and stuff.
Let me ask you, when you guys came into the Big East, right? Because PJ came and told you, hey, Big East, did that mean anything at that point, or was that just kind of in its baby? Where did you value the Big East in the big picture?
No, you want to go first, Rick, or you want me?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, it didn't hit me like that, you know?
Right? Yeah, I was the same way. I agree.
Yeah, because I think when we started, you know, when we all came in, all four of us got into the Big East Conference, it was really ultra competitive. But maybe a year later, 2 years later, when it was like considered the best conference in the country.
Yep.
So when he first said the Big East, I was like, okay, it's the Big East, but it wasn't like it was the ACC to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I don't know how you feel about that, Dre.
Well, I knew few about the Big East because, you know, one of my teammates when I was in high school, Swoop, he went to Georgetown at the time, and it was up and coming. But the ACC was the first before, I think a year after our sophomore year, that the Big East was that strong. And I just wanted an opportunity to play against Pat. I just wanted to play against Pat, Chris Mullins and them. And I just wanted to, Mo Vaughn. I remember him, Mo Vaughn, when my freshman year. I wanted to play against these guys and see how my talent was and what I need to work on.
Clyde Vaughn, right?
I'm sorry, Clyde
Pitt.
Vaughn.
Yeah, from Pitt. Yeah, we knew who you were talking about. We've had Clyde on the show. He's quite a character too.
My close friend, Clyde's from Mount Vernon. One of my close friends.
Yeah, he's from
he
played
Mount
at New
Vernon,
Rochelle, right?
Yep. Played at New Rock. Yep.
He wanted me to go to Pittsburgh. It was a little bit too cold, you know.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So let me ask you this, Rick, because you know you and I have a little bit of history. We you know, the Big East. We've talked about these things throughout some of the shows that we've done, but the Big East did some things that were pretty cool. They took a team and they, you know, let you go out overseas and play against you know, their teams. And you and I were fortunate enough to go on one of the trips to Yugoslavia at the time. Now it's Croatia and Serbia now after the war. But we were there before everything went crazy. But talk about that a little bit. That was a lot of fun, man, because we got to play with guys from different teams, and now all of a sudden you're teammates with guys, and there was a lot of friendships that developed over there, right?
Right. The two things that stick out in my mind about those trips is the relationship that I was able to establish with you, with the rest of the guys, is just priceless. Because if it wasn't for that trip, you know, maybe I wouldn't know you as well. Maybe I wouldn't be as close to you as much as I did. We spent, I don't know how long we were over there for, a couple of weeks, but we really became brothers. And the second thing is, you realize how good everybody else is. You know, our practice was like crazy. Like I was like, oh shit, I didn't know he was that good. You know, oh shit, I didn't know Truck was 7 fucking feet tall. Like you just had no idea. And then Chuck was, for those of you who don't know, Chuck was the ringleader of the whole trip. Like if you wanted to laugh, if you wanted to, he always had a one-liner or something to make you feel comfortable, even when you was going through a bad time or a bad practice or a bad game. Yeah. You know, and I can share this with you. One of the greatest players that ever played over Europe, me and Chuck, when we got off the plane, I think we had a game either that it seemed like the same day, but either the next day, we had to play against Drazen Petrovic. And obviously we didn't know who he was. We heard this guy's really good. So we go into this arena that's probably 15,000 people. Everybody's smoking cigarettes. It's dark in the arena.
That's right.
And this guy just puts on a show. I mean, he was just shooting, Steph Curry jump shots and playing with the ball. And after the game, I said, okay, I had a good game. You read the sheet. I had 18, 20 points. And Chuck said, yeah, Rick, well, let me tell you the good news. The bad news. He had like 52.
That's right.
But we laughed at it, and then we respected the guy. We said, okay, he's a good player. So the best thing for me about those trips is the relationships we established, and I'll never ever forget them, ever.
Yeah, I think that was the mastermind of Dave Gavitt that did that. They was trying to form that bond, because he was all about, like, when you guys played outside the conference, we were big, huge Seton Hall fans. Same as Georgetown, Syracuse, Sonny.
Right.
And I think part of what fostered that relationship was the things like the luncheons and the things like these trips, that we went on. Dre, did you get to go on any of those Big East trips?
Yeah, we went to Yugoslavia. I had Keith Lomax. I used to call him Magic, because when he smiled, he like magic.
He looked like magic too.
Yeah.
With the goatee, right?
Yeah.
So who was on that team with you, Dre?
Oh God, I can't remember. I know Keith Lomax was one.
How about the coach? Who coached it?
So clearly,
Gary Williams.
It clearly made an impression on him, right, Rick?
Hey, that's a long time ago now. Hold up. I want to say Gary Williams was the coach.
Okay.
Yeah. Every player that was
so you're guaranteed to have a good time if Coach Williams was there. Right, Sonny?
He was, yeah.
He's a lot of laughs, that guy.
Oh yeah, he's a fun guy, boy.
So Keith was on that team. Now Keith was always a clown. Even I remember playing him in the Palestra. He always had something to say, man. Like all the time he was talking.
All the time. And that smile, I was like, okay, Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. That's hilarious. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And even one of the guys that were with you, Coach Brown, was the coach of our team, and Marty Marbach from Villanova. So
what a great guy.
So he's a great guy too. So we've kept in touch with him over the years, and especially now through Facebook, you get to see everybody. So that part's pretty cool too. So
Chuck,
don't forget the women. For some reason, that trip was a lot better than Dre's trip, obviously.
Yeah, it was. Trust me.
Me and Chuck had a big old suite. We had a big suite. We had women knocking at our door. We had women packing their clothes and want to get back to the country with us, right, Chuck?
Listen, don't right Chuck me. Listen, I had a suite with Harold Jensen. Let's call it the way it is. Okay. And the funny thing, Sonny, I think I've told you this. I said we had a suite. I could not get in the shower. And I wasn't going to be like the rest of these guys from Yugoslavia and not shower while I was there. These guys, that was crazy. And then
oh my God,
we go down to the front desk. Next thing you know, we're like in the King's Palace suite. We were doing walkthrough in our living room of our suite. And it was right after the 85 game. It was a few months after that. So we just told everybody, hey, they take care of the champs here. That's what happened. So that's what we told everybody. But it was crazy. There was a lot of nightlife. That's for sure.
So beautiful beach, everything. So it was a wonderful trip.
It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Chuck, to your point, the situation with Wisconsin and Michigan.
Yeah.
If that was Dave Gavitt and that was the Big East, those two guys would be at a dinner, either a guarantee within the week. They'd be together, breaking bread, forcing those guys to talk about whatever differences they have, whatever backgrounds, because there was more to it than what we all saw. But and they would iron it out, and that would be put to bed, and we wouldn't have this conversation anymore.
Yeah, and all of that
was the magic of Dave Gavitt. Dave Gavitt
made the league so great. So Rick, give us a couple of stories, because you and I had lunch. You had some good ones. Share some of the stories about some of the games and some of the stuff that went on at the Hall.
Okay, the Hall. Let's go into the
He's got a Rolodex, Sonny. He's got
no. I tell you, let me give you a good one. This is a true story, though, and this is why
the wheels turning. Let's do it. Yeah.
I love Andre so much. All right. So I had this crush on this girl on campus, and she eventually became my wife, but she was a pretty
He's got it already. He's laughing already.
yeah, pretty freshman, and she was just, I mean, gorgeous. And she had a boyfriend on campus. So, I couldn't go to her room because her boyfriend was always there. So who do I call? My roommate, Andre. You got to go in there, spy on me. You got to go in there and check her out. So Andre would always go in there and say, what's going on? Just come by to say hello. And he would give me the rundown of who's in there. Oh, Rick, he's a chump. Now you just go in there. He ain't going to get her. You got it. So our relationship goes beyond like just basketball because he was always there for me. And eventually I married this girl and we had 3 beautiful boys. She's passed away, unfortunately, at a young age of brain cancer. But I kind of owe Andre for having my kids. So it's as much fun as we had. He doesn't know that he's instrumental in my life. The kid I go watch play baseball every weekend on University of Tennessee. If Andre not hooked me up with this girl, I wouldn't have him. Yeah. So it just goes beyond that. Far as the fun we had, it was a small, Seton Hall was a small campus, but we were kings on the campus. Basketball wise, we had a ball. I mean, we cracked, we joked, but we also loved each other. And the good thing about, to me, going to Seton Hall, probably one of the biggest things, because I met Andre, to be honest with you. Like, PJ was great. I love PJ, but me and Andre have a brotherhood that'll last forever. I track him down. When I can't find him, I get worried. When he can't find me, he gets worried. Yeah. So, and that's the whole thing. So, forget the basketball part of it. I thank God for putting me in that position, and I also thank him for putting me and Dre together, because no matter what happens, we're always going to be together. So that's the best thing I could say about Seton Hall for me, besides my wife, was the relationships.
Yeah. Andre, how about you, Dre?
I tell you one thing. I ain't never heard about the honeymooners.
Yeah.
And I never heard about all my children, one life to live. Ricky will not move until all that's over. And I mean, he's all into it. The detectives on the side and telling everybody, shh. Hey, hold up. What's going on? I'm like, it's all my children.
And that was our team too.
That was our team.
Yeah, we were all in All My Children and Miami Vice on Friday nights, man.
Things were scheduled. Things were scheduled around All My Children. That's for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And he's the one that put me onto that. And I'm like, I never heard of the honeymooners. And I'm like, well, what the heck are you with Jackie Gleason and stuff? And he used to imitate that. And I'm like, oh, I had me on the floor rolling.
Oh, that's WPIX TV, right, Ricky? WPIX channel 11.
11 o'clock every night before we went to bed. We had to watch the honeymooners.
Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah. So.
Well, listen, that's what it's all about, guys. I mean, exactly what you're talking about here. Eventually the ball stops bouncing, and this is the thing that kind of was the premise of what we're doing, really. And the ball stops bouncing for all of us at some point. Father Time's undefeated. So, but the locker room doesn't have to stop. And that's kind of what this has kind of been with Sonny and I. It's a labor of love from all the guys that we played with, the teammates, and now I'm getting to know his teammates. He's getting to know mine. We get to know guys like you, the Georgetown guys, etc. And it's been really, really fun for us to do all of this, for sure. Last question, and we'll cut you guys loose. So tell us about what you're doing now, guys, at number one, and then number two. The second part of that question is, give us your final thoughts about playing in that conference back then in the heyday.
Well, for me, right now, I'm working at the high school as security.
Okay.
Coaching football. I've been doing that for 7 years, coaching football, offensive line. I do put some input in the basketball. I help some of the kids out. Sometimes parents would come to me and have me train their kids and stuff. And so I help out that way. I do Nike camps with another friend of mine. It's got kind of really big here in Florida. I do that in the summer. I'm all over the place, pretty much, especially in basketball and stuff. I try to be a mentor for these high school kids, let them know you got to work hard to get where you want to go. And stuff. They heard when I got drafted, they didn't know nothing about me because I'm low key about everything. And when now you got the Google, you can Google your name and boom, everything's there. They come running to me and ask questions and stuff, and how was it? And I let them know, especially the ball players. I told them, hey, we used to work hard to get to Seton Hall. Or if you want to get to a Division I school, some of these kids right now, they don't know what they're doing. They think everything's owed to them. And I tell them, no, you got to work for it. You will not last in a D1 school with that attitude and stuff. So
you didn't tell them about that first night at Seton Hall, did you?
No.
No.
Crazy
You didn't
night.
share that one. No.
Beautiful.
How about you, Rick?
I've been in the franchise business for years now. I've owned Subway stores. I've owned restaurants. I've owned a brand called Medici out of California. And over the last year, I've got into the cannabis space. So me and my group are in the process of opening up a 100,000 square feet cultivation center in New York, upstate New York.
Where's that at, Ricky?
It's in near Newburgh area.
Okay.
Orange County. So that's been my passion for the last year. So I'm a legal drug dealer now. So
so that first night story is going to get better.
And now you know I'm worried. That's why I keep worrying. I don't hear from them that much.
Listen, now I know why you're worried, Andre. Yeah, exactly. Rick.
To address the Big East question, to me, there was no conference like the Big East back in our day. Not even close. I mean, I know they had the Jordans and ACC was great, and other conferences were great, but the relationships that you have with the Big East and the competition every night, the competition among coaches, the fun we had in the arenas we played with, going to Syracuse and playing in front of 30, 40,000 people.
Yes.
That's just sick. It's just unheard of, And at the end of the day, to me, it was the best conference that's ever been existed, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm going to stick by it. We had 3 teams in the Final Four. We had the Miracle team in Villanova, which to me was one of the best games I've ever seen any college team play ever till this day. And I share this with Chuck. The coach Massimino, Chuck's coach was the coach that got me a potential job overseas. Not my coach, it was his coach that called a team from London. You got to get this guy. You got to get this guy. And then they came and met with me. And if I would have signed the deal, I would have been Chuck's roommate in London. Yeah, so this stuff only happens in the Big East. So I'm grateful. I enjoyed every minute. I enjoyed the relationships. I enjoyed the competition. And to me, it was just the best. It was just the best. So.
Well, that's a great way to wrap this up, fellas. Thanks so much for coming out and joining us. We had a great time hanging with you guys. It's good to see you, Andre. It's been a long time, man. It's been a long time. So it's great to see you. Rick, stay in touch, of course.
Got you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I felt like I was in South Orange for a little while.
Yeah, it was great.
Here you go. So, Sonny, I'm gonna call you about some baseball stuff, Sonny. All right?
You got it. Let's do it.
All right. So you've been listening to the Big East Rewind with Chuck Everson and Sonny Spera. The Big East Rewind was produced and directed by Nick Chico Chorus and Daryl Gurney. You could check us out on YouTube. Put Big East Rewind in the search bar, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.